Hello again. I am back with an update on my 4th week here at Durga's Tiger School as part of my 6-week 300-hour advanced yoga teacher training. And it's been, again, such an incredible, heart-opening, expansive experience. And I'm excited to share some updates from the 4th week here of the training. The biggest highlights from week 4 of my training were the 2 days of silence leading up to the plant medicine ceremony, and then of course the heart-opening, expanding San Pedro plant medicine ceremony that we did here at the school and with some local shamans from this area here in Ecuador. The 2 days of silence here at the school leading up to the plant medicine ceremony were definitely some of the most impactful days that I have had here at the school. So it wasn't like a true Vipassana meditation retreat where we were completely silent, not allowed to communicate whatsoever, but we were quiet in between the classes. When we were in the classes, we were able to talk, but at meals, in between, while we were doing our karma yoga around the house, we weren't allowed to talk. And I actually absolutely loved it. I don't often take time to just be quiet, be in stillness, especially when I'm around other people. I tend to be chatty, be talkative, find something to relate about. So it was really different to be around community, to be around other people, but to just be around that energy in silence. It really gave me an opportunity to reflect and think about the things that we have been doing here at the school, the things that we were doing in the classes and workshops throughout the day and leading up to the silent days in the few days prior. And it was really impactful to have those silent days leading up to San Pedro. So the plant medicine ceremony was the first time I had done a plant medicine ceremony like that, and the medicine really worked in profound and amazing ways. We had a night ceremony led by a local shaman group here, and San Pedro is considered more of a grandfather of plant medicine, versus you may have heard of ayahuasca, which is considered the grandmother or female medicine. The ceremony was held at night, so it started at about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. We all joined in the yoga sala where we normally hold our yoga classes. And the family started the process with us all in the room of setting up the altar, setting up the room. There were flower petals spread in the middle of the room, and then a place for the fire, which would be lit and kept throughout the ceremony in the center of the space. And then an altar was set up for the lead shaman, which was male in this case, again relating to the grandfather San Pedro masculine medicine that we were to take. And then we started singing and passing along instruments. We shared our intentions for the ceremony. Either you could share it internally, or you can think about your intention internally, or people voice their intention. At the time of the ceremony, I kept it inside. I felt like it was a very personal journey for me to be there in that space, experiencing it. So we all went around, placing our intentions in the room. And then at one point I was so tired, we didn't eat much that day. They weren't super strict on our diet, but obviously hadn't eaten since earlier in the day, and it was the middle of the night, so I started getting tired. By the time things really got going, it was after midnight, pitch black in the room, and I just allowed myself to kind of drift off while the songs were going. I laid down for a bit, and we had our first round of the medicine prior to laying down. They served it to us in liquid form. And if you aren't familiar, San Pedro comes from a cactus. We actually have the San Pedro cactus around our property. And then they process it into kind of a liquid that you drink. And took the first round of medicine. I wasn't really feeling it. I was tired. I kind of started feeling a little sick. I didn't know if it was from being tired or not having eaten. So I allowed myself to drift off at that point. And when I came back to, the music was starting to pick up and the energy was starting to pick up. And then they came around again with another round of the medicine. Since I didn't quite feel the first round of medicine, I felt comfortable taking another glass. They were about this big. And to see, okay, let's see how I feel after this. And I stayed awake. My body was starting to wake up. I started singing along to some of the songs and really felt more connected to the ceremony, almost as if I slept, and when I woke up it was like a rebirth into the ceremony, into the moment. And I really allowed myself to kind of get carried along with the entire ceremony that the shamans were leading. It was a process I hadn't been exposed to. It was a group of people I hadn't been exposed to, but I really felt like I was awake and in the moment at that time. And then as the sun started streaming into the yoga studio, the yoga sala, which I don't remember the last time I was up at that time of the day, as the sun was coming up and coming in, I started to feel the medicine just a little bit. My sickness went away. I didn't feel that anymore. And at one point I was still wondering, is this working? Am I supposed to be seeing visions? How is this going to work for me? I wasn't sure. I hadn't known really many people who had been exposed to it. So then I closed my eyes and went into meditation, and that's when the medicine really started kicking in for me and I started experiencing it. When I closed my eyes and just allowed the music to kind of swirl around me, the energy to swirl around me, I was able to get in this extremely deep meditative state, a really blissful state. I felt as if I was out of my body. I was floating in this room, surrounded by white light, sparkling light. It was really like an out-of-body experience. And it was coupled with that sun coming in, the energy really picking up in the room. And I was able to just transform and go into this space of complete bliss. And it was the deepest I've ever been into a meditation. There was just something about the medicine that as soon as I went inward, I realized, this was maybe here to show me that whatever I need is inside. I don't need to look outward to this room, to the shamans, to give me, this feeling that I have right now here, this blissful feeling that I've gotten in meditation before. I've gotten after doing certain practices, but I just felt it so strongly that this is something I could get to at any time just by going inward and trusting and allowing and feeling the happiness and bliss inside. So it was a really beautiful experience. They passed around yet again as the sun came up, one more round of the medicine, and that definitely sunk in again and continued this blissful state that I felt in and that I had gotten to in that second round and in the middle of the night as the ceremony was progressing. And then we passed around water at the end. It was the first time we could drink water throughout the night. I was so thirsty. So the drink of water was like, I feel like I've never drinking water before in my life. And then they allowed us to say a prayer. And compared to the beginning of the ceremony where I didn't really feel comfortable speaking in the group or sharing my intention, by the end, I just felt like my ego had completely dissolved. I really felt like one in that room, in that community, whereas initially I felt I couldn't connect to the shamans, the shaman group. They came with a whole group of people that were a part of the ceremony. There was one person building the fire. There was another woman and her child spreading the flowers out into the beautiful altar. There was the woman next to the lead shaman who was walking around the room with the medicine and making sure, checking on the room, checking in on how we were feeling, if we needed anything. And then just this group of people singing the songs, carrying the energy, balancing the room. And initially I couldn't connect to that. I didn't understand it. I was really feeling the masculine energy that was typical to this ceremony, typical to San Pedro and the way that medicine is shared. And by the end of the ceremony, all of that was gone. The judgment was gone. the ego that I was connecting to and the disconnection and the judgment of the situation was completely gone. And the shaman kept talking about familia and how, you know, we are all one family, how the Gran Spiritu, they call it, or the universe, God as some people call it, whatever you consider this universal energy that connects us, that the energy that brings us all together. I just felt it so strongly by the end of the ceremony in a way I can't even explain. It's something you have to experience for yourself. And then the prayers at the end, you know, I do prayers in my meditation, but being brought up Catholic, that way of praying just never quite resonated with me. And I had to find my way into spirituality down a different path, through yoga, through things I've been learning about Buddhism, now through this practice of Tantra and shamanism and the connection to the land, to these plants, to nature. And at this point, I really connected with the prayer that the shamans were sharing in the room, that I eventually shared in the room. And it felt so strong and connected. And I felt the power of the collective, of us all being there in this room, of the words going into the circle, and the support that I had from everyone around me, including these spiritual leaders who are leading the ceremony, who have done this, who have committed their life to this path and done this beautiful work to connect to nature, to connect to these rituals that I've been exposed to here in this beautiful country. And I've never felt such a strong connection and such a strong support from community, from familia. And so as we were meditating and the shamans were leading their prayers, it just filled me with this light and this joy and this bliss that's just so hard to explain. But I understood it. I understood the power of really intentionally putting words to the things that we want in life, the things that are important to us, the things that are meaningful to us, the things that we need help with. There were things that I said aloud at the end in my prayer after drinking that glass of sacred water from the center of the circle from the shaman's, from his altar at the front of the room, that had passed all of these prayers, this whole ceremony. And I just felt like a channel for all of these words to come through from the deepest part of my soul and my being for what I needed at that exact point. And it included things for loved ones in my life. It included aspects of the room that I had been feeling and connecting to. And it was just such a joyful, blissful feeling to bring that all together in a way that I wasn't afraid to communicate and to share. Whereas at the beginning, I just didn't feel that way. So, and then after the ceremony, there was just this beautiful connection with the entire group. We all came together. We were sharing. We spent the day outside. I went and laid in the grass, and I literally could see every droplet of water on every blade of grass. Just felt this immense connection to nature. We were just in such a joyful, playful state. And I was not forced, but allowed to just be present that entire day. We really enjoyed the day. Here it's been kind of cloudy, rainy, cool, windy. You could see the wind going behind me. And we haven't always been able to enjoy our days outside. But we all kind of just stayed here at the property, the beautiful Durga's Tiger School, Casa Kaliku. We enjoyed our yard, we enjoyed the presence together, and I feel like it was just this beautiful turning point in the group halfway through the program for most people. For me, it was 3/4 of the way through the program. It's my 4th week. But it just brought us all so much closer together, and it was just the absolute most perfect turning point to go into our final weeks here at the school of the program, and I couldn't be more thankful for the experience. So I highly recommend, if you have the opportunity to do a plant medicine ceremony led by a shaman led by someone you trust. Do your research. I've heard mixed experiences. I would definitely go with someone who's recommended, or an experience you've heard has been very transformational. And I highly recommend the one here at Durga's Tiger School that I was able to experience. I will certainly look at bringing a group back here through a yoga retreat, through a future experience. If you're considering doing a yoga teacher training, this school has been absolutely beautiful. The experience has been amazing. So I'm really looking forward to going into my final couple of weeks here and seeing how much deeper I could go, how much more I can open. And I already cannot wait to share all of the beautiful tools that I've been learning here and bring them back to my community in San Diego, as well as all over the world where I plan to lead retreats. Who knows where? This is just the tip of the iceberg, but thank you so much for following again. I look forward to sharing more updates with you. And don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you're appreciating this inside scoop of my yoga teacher training. And I'll see you next time.